Hi all, and welcome to the cabin. Today we're doing part 5 in our series where we build a Night Lord's army for the Horus Heresy. Like I mentioned last time, I really have to sit down and write an army list for this project, so that's what we're doing in this video. Let's get to it. If you've watched the previous videos, then you know that this is what I've completed so far. I've painted units one at a time without really thinking about how they all fit together. It's been a fun project and I've enjoyed coming up with my own lore for them. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's probably not the best approach if I want to participate in the Horus Heresy tournament at Malmö Wargaming weekend this October. It looked like a blast when I visited the event last year, so today my goal is to create a tournament-ready army list at 2,500 points. Let's start with my ideas for the list and the foundations I'll be leaning on. I want to use the Night Lord's Rite of War Terror Assault, which seems both fluffy and fun to play with. Essentially, night fighting is always in effect during turns 1 and 2, with a 50% chance of also being in play for turn 3. Terror squads and Night Raptors can be taken as troops, and all characters gain Fear 1. That's all great, but the downside is that I can only take one heavy support choice and no Lords of War or super heavy units can be included. Fair enough. Night fighting and Fear 1 can reduce enemy leadership by -2, which combines nicely with the Night Lord's Legion rule. This gives all our models +1 to wound for both shooting and close combat when targeting an enemy unit that is pinned, falling back, or outnumbered. So, when building the list, I'll keep the following 5 points in mind. For units I expect to do a lot of fighting, I want their squad size to be as big as possible to trigger the Legion rule. Likewise, I want to include plenty of weapons with the pinning rule. Deep striking units can also cause pinning tests, so I'll definitely be doing that. To take advantage of the night fighting rules, I'll be purchasing Prey Sight for many of my units, so they can get the night vision rule. The force needs to be mobile, so besides deep striking, I'm also inclined to use jump pack units and fast vehicles. Alright, it's time to build the list. I'll be using New Recruit for this video, which is available both as an app and in a web browser. Over the last couple of weeks, I've gone back and forth with many different versions of this army, but I think I've finally settled on my tournament list. Right, we're definitely not loyalists, so let's change that and pick Terror Assault as our Rite of War. Then I'm going to add 2 tactical squads to fill the compulsory troop slots. I could just take Terror Squads or Night Raptors instead, but I do want to have a couple of line infantry in the force. Besides, I've already painted these. On that note, I'll add Rhinos with heavy bolters to both units as well. I also want to use the Dreadnoughts I've painted. So here's the Contemptor, with a Gravis Plasma Cannon, Gravis Chain Fist, and inbuilt Meltagun. I'll go ahead and select Prey Sight for it as well. The Duradio is a heavy support choice, so that will be my one and only. The Aiolos missile launcher is great because it causes pinning, but I think I'll be replacing the autocannons with a Volkite Falconet, since these also cause pinning. Good thing I magnetized the weapons. The Duradio should definitely have Prey Sight too. Right, the only painted model left now is the Praetor, so let's add him. I'm going to wait with his loadout though. I feel like I need more firepower, and since I can't add any more heavy support choices, the Saber tank looks like a solid fast attack alternative. It's a very fast tank, so that ticks the mobility box too. I'll go with a Neutron Blaster and Multi-Melta for some anti-armor firepower. And of course, Prey Sight. The Xiphon Interceptor is another cool fast attack option, also packing some anti-armor weaponry, so I'll grab one with Prey Sight as well. I think I want some more las cannons, and I happen to have an old rapier battery with a laser destroyer that I bought years ago in my pile of shame. Prey sight, check. Another pinning weapon is the Nemesis Bolter, so I want a unit that can wield those and snipe characters during the early rounds of night fighting. I actually compared reconnaissance squads, seeker squads, and veteran squads, and you can see that breakdown here. They are sorted by points for a squad of 5 models, all armed with Nemesis Bolters and with Prey Sight added. With that loadout, the Recon Squad is the cheapest. But the Seeker Squad has a very nice advantage with their Ballistic Skill 5, which could be a game changer. The Veterans have 2 wounds, but I'm not sure that I need to prioritize durability for this squad. Also, they're the only unit that doesn't have Infiltrate, and I really want to get these snipers set up in a good position right from turn 1. Recon squads even have Scout, so they can redeploy after infiltrating, which can be good if the enemy also has infiltrating units. Veterans are relentless, meaning they can move and shoot with heavy weapons without penalty. Nemesis Bolters are heavy, so that's great, but I think I'd rather have Infiltrate. Seekers also have Marked for Death, which lets them re-roll 2 wound rolls of 1 against a specific unit they've chosen. That's very good, especially if the targeted unit is pinned, so the Seekers also get +1 to wound. Recon and Seekers are skirmish, so they can both get a better cover save. Finally, Recon squads are line, so they can score and deny objectives, and they also have Shroud Bombs, so they're considered a further 6 inches away from units that are shooting at them. Each unit has strengths and weaknesses, but I quickly ruled out the Veterans. It was a tough choice between Recon and Seekers, but in the end I'm going with Seekers for their Ballistic Skill 5 and Marked for Death special rule. They're not as versatile or defensive, but they're more deadly, and that's what I want from this unit. There we go, a 5-man squad with Nemesis Bolters and Prey Sight. That's all the fast attack choices I'm allowed, so now I want to go for some Legion-specific units, starting with Night Raptors. With jump packs, weapon skill 5, 2 wounds, and 2 base attacks, these are pretty good close combat troops. Add in having 2 single-handed weapons, the Legion rule, as well as Sudden Strike and Bloody Murder, they can potentially get a total of +3 to the charge roll, +1 initiative, +1 to wound, and +3 attacks when charging a pinned unit. That's not too shabby. Also, they can purchase Nostraman Chainglaves or Chainblades for 10 points without having to pay for a power weapon first. Going with Chainblades means they can still get +1 attack with their bolt pistols, which I think is better than the Chainglaves. They only give +1 strength, but if I can trigger the Legion rule, they will still wound models with toughness 4 on a 2-up. The Chainblades also reroll all 2 wound rolls and are AP 3, with 2 wound rolls of 6 becoming AP 2. Let's add 15 of these for a nice deadly unit. And they already have night vision, which is nice. For the Terror Squad, I'm adding a unit of 9 and giving them a drop pod. The 10th member will be an Apothecary that will add soon. Since the Night Raptors will serve as my close combat squad, I'm building a shooty Terror Squad starting with 3 rotor cannons, since they cause pinning. The rest of the unit will have Volkite Chargers, and I'll need to buy Prey Sight as well. The plan is to deep strike these along with the Night Raptors to add fire support and more chances of pinning the enemy. Now let's add that Apothecary for the Terror Squad, and give him a Volkite Charger as well. Actually, I'm adding 1 more to the detachment that I can stick into the Night Raptor squad. So I'll need to give that one a jump pack. To improve my deep strike success rate, I'll also add a Centurion, which will be a Master of Signals. With the drop pod coming in first, I'll be able to re-roll the reserves roll, half the scatter distance, and potentially re-roll it as well. Once my Terror Squad and Night Raptors are on the table, I can also use the Master of Signals to disrupt enemy deep strikes. Okay, with only 79 points left, it's time to kit out the Praetor. At one point I considered giving him a command squad and deploying them in a Proteus carrier. But in the end I decided to run him with my Night Raptors, so I'll give him a jump pack. Unlike the Apothecary, the Praetor doesn't gain the special rules of the Night Raptors, so I'm buying Lords of Murder for him. This ensures they all benefit from bloody murder, since it requires the entire unit to have the rule. For weapons, a Thunderhammer would be excellent. And I'll make it mastercrafted as well. Let's add a Volkite Serpenta, and of course, make him the Warlord. I'm picking Flaymaster as his Warlord trait. Every time his unit destroys an enemy unit, his fear value increases up to a maximum of fear 3. That leaves 12 points, which I'll spend on giving one of my tactical squads 6 chain bayonets for better melee capability. That's exactly 2,500 points. I think I've ticked off everything I wanted, but let me know what you think of the list in the comments below. I don't have much experience playing Horus Heresy, so this is all theoretical. It feels great to have a list though. Now I just have to build and paint all of this. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please consider giving the video a like and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on future content. A special thank you to Arnold over on Patreon. And if you want to go that extra mile and get some nice perks while helping us out, all our links are in the description below. We'll see you next time. Good luck with your miniatures.